everyone, welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about flange sizing. Now this is super important for all moms, whether you plan on exclusively breastfeeding and you don't ever think that you're going to pump and you're just going to be home with your baby and exclusively breastfeed, that's okay. But I do really encourage you to still look for the proper flange size because you never know when you're going to have to pump. I've had multiple situations where I've had moms and they go into the hospital, they have a great birth, and then the last thing that they want is to have a baby in NICU, and they end up with a baby in NICU or baby severely jaundiced and they have to pump and do extra things. So it is super important that you have the proper flange size. All right, so flange, if anybody doesn't know, is this part of the breast pump, okay? So this is your flange, okay? In most companies, I have the Spectra, comes with a 24 and a 28 millimeter flange. Now that's okay. So a lot of people assume like, oh, I'm gonna just take what comes in the box and that should work for me. Well, that's incorrect. The breast pump companies don't do a good job at telling you that this is not the right flange size. I kind of wish they just didn't even send the flange and then you had to order it so you made sure you had the right size. But because this is a 24 millimeter, so that means that the nipple across is over 2 centimeters with 4 millimeters. So that's a pretty large nipple because you only want the nipple just going barely in this tunnel to go in and out. And then the whole rest of this part is supposed to compress the breast so it can release the milk into the tunnel. Okay, so most companies send too big of sizes. Most moms I have known, actually need a smaller size than a 24. They actually need like 17, 19. I've even gone down to a 13. So super important. So we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna show you how to measure your flange size, but first we're gonna talk about kind of each variation of breast type. So now when it comes to flange sizing, it's all about your nipple size, okay? So don't worry, if you have size E breasts or size A cup, whichever, don't look at your breast size. Don't even look at your areola size, because I know some women have very large areolas and tiny nipples. That's okay. It has nothing to do with your areola or your breast size. It is only about your nipple size. So don't look at anything else, okay? But after doing postpartum for the last 7 years, I realized how many different variations of nipples there are, and it's incredible. Like I never had any idea. Like I thought everybody was like everted. I didn't even know there was inverted nipples. So there's all kinds of different variations. So don't mind my drawing because it's not great. But if this is your nipple, this is like an everted nipple. And then here's the rest of your breast. Okay, all right, so everted sticks out. Okay, so that's everted. Flat. Okay, so flat is like just a little bit of a hump. Okay, so it's just barely protruding out. So you can see everted, it protrudes out a lot. So there's a lot for a baby to grab onto. But everted there can be some negative things to everted, and I'll tell you about that after. But flat, okay, dimpled. I'm gonna do, instead of a side view, I'm gonna do a front view of the breast because you can't really see what I'm talking about with dimpled. Okay, so here is the breast, okay? Here is the areola. All right, here's the nipple. And then you might see a little bit of a line, okay? So dimpled means it's not fully flat, it's not fully inverted. It's kind of the in-between. Now you might not always hear about this, but I have seen this several times where if a mom stimulates her nipple, so now the way to stimulate your nipple is to kind of gently go, here I have my breath, is to gently kind of go like this and kind of stimulate it around, and your nipple should protrude out. So now for dimpled, it looks like it's kind of inverted, but then when you stimulate it, it everts. So we call this everts on stimulation. And then the same with flat nipples, you can do this too. All right, so you can do this with flat nipples too, is you kind of evert, you kind of basically tickle and play with your nipple for a little bit to kind of have your nipple protrude out. And you'll see that the dimple, that it actually pops out and it's not as inverted. Inverted is it does not pop out regardless. So that's dimpled. It's kind of like an in-between, all right? And now front view again. So here's your breast, here's your areola, here's your nipple. You won't even like see anything. You'll just kind of see like a line. And what inverted is there's tight pieces of tissue underneath that are tethered and holding into the inside of the breast. So it's basically just holding that tissue inwards. Now, if your baby has a strong enough suck, they can actually break those tethers that are holding the tissue inwards, and you can actually end up with like a kind of flat or inverted nipple after. So just know it's still possible to breastfeed, pump, do whatever with inverted nipples, because it's breastfeeding, not nipple feeding. So if you can get the baby deep enough on the breast, then you can breastfeed, okay? But I'll show you how to measure this one a little differently. Okay, so for sizes of flanges, this is what they range from now. So we got 13, they're all in millimeters, so I'm not gonna write millimeter every time, but 13, we got 15, 17, 19, 21, 24, 28, 30, 33, and I think there might be a 36. That's questionable, but it's so rare to have that large of a nipple that it's like incredible to even think about that it would be that large. The majority of the nipples that I see are going this range right here. These are the most common. Actually, not even 13. I would say 15. Okay, so those are the most common ranges that I see for nipple sizes. However, this is the smallest size that comes with most breast pumps. And then this is the smallest size that my hospital has. We actually use Medela products, so we actually do have 21 millimeter flanges that I can adjust for somebody because we do have Medela hospital grade pumps. But if somebody comes in with an LV, I don't have a flange for them. I've also worked at another hospital where they had, I don't like the breast company that they had, what was it? I can't even remember, but it was so frustrating because I would talk to the lactation nurses every day and I was like, the lowest size we have is a 24. I was like, this mom is definitely like a 17. She's like, yeah, I know, this is all we got. And I'm like, well, that's horrible. I'm like, we can't expect these moms to pump an efficient amount and not have it be painful without the right size. Like, that's the whole point. So I got really frustrated at that hospital. Like, that was just ridiculous. Like, they didn't have any other sizes. It was just these two and I was like, that's ridiculous. All right, so those are all the sizes. And so basically what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have everybody come and take out your measuring tape, and I'm actually gonna hop behind my phone so I can show you from the behind view because it's easier because I can see where my fingers are and everything. So everybody grab your measuring tape. I actually had a mom the other day and she didn't have a measuring tape. Okay, this is so cheap. This is from, I went to the Dollar Tree one day and I had a sewing kit. I had another one from work. I had like a nice white one and I have no idea where it is. But I couldn't find one day and I looked at my sewing kit, and this comes in the sewing kit from the Dollar Tree, and it was legit $1. So you can go there and get a measuring tape. Even if you have one of those construction measuring tapes that like goes back in the thing, you can use that. Any measuring tape, ruler, whichever is gonna be perfect. So I'm gonna hop behind the camera real quick and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. All right, so basically what we want to look at is your measuring tape. So a 24 millimeter. So right now what they're saying is every centimeter is 10 millimeters. So 20 is 20. 2 centimeters, 20. And then they're saying 24. So that would be this small line right here. So that's how big they're saying your nipple is. Now, most women aren't that. They're like less than 21. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna measure from one side of the nipple to the other, and you're gonna measure how many centimeters first, so it's 1 centimeter, and then count the small little lines. You're not gonna be super accurate, and that's okay. We wanna just get like the basic guesstimation of what your nipple size is, okay? Because I highly doubt anybody's like up to like the 35. Like, that's a very large nipple across, okay? So we're gonna look at that. So I'm gonna show you real quick. I'm just gonna go back and I forgot to mention one more thing about where you should be measuring. So, all right. So if you are looking at your nipple from the front, okay, this is a perfect circle. All right, whose nipple is actually a perfect circle? Not many people, but some people are. You're gonna measure from one side to the other, okay? So you're gonna measure from one side to the other from the widest space. Now I have seen moms that have oval nipples, but this way, okay? So guess what? You're not gonna measure from here to here, you're gonna measure from here to here. You wanna measure the widest space across your nipple, because if you measure the shorter space, guess what? That wider space is gonna be hitting the sides and it's gonna be uncomfortable. So you wanna measure the widest space. So if you kind of, and then, granted, you might have one nipple that's like this, and then you might have one that's a lot smaller. So you might need two different flange sizes or inserts for each side of your breast and your nipple size. So that's where you're gonna measure. So I'm gonna show you on my little breast model here. This breast model is legit basically a flat breast. So if you're confused about what a flat breast looks like, it's this. It's like barely everted. See how it's barely just the nipple. It's not an everted like that, and it's not dimpled. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your measuring tape. Hold on, sorry, I'm on the wrong side. Try and do this one-handed here. Okay, so basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna go stand in front of the mirror and you are going to look at your nipple and you are gonna measure across. All right, so from one side, obviously this is very unrealistic breast. That's like a perfect circle. So I'm measuring from one side to the other, and it looks like I'm getting about 1 centimeter plus 2 to 3 little millimeter lines. So I'm gonna say it's about, hold on, 12 or 13. Okay, so you see how I'm reading that? It's just barely, just from one side of the nipple to the other. Don't look at your areola, don't look at anything else, just your nipple. Okay, so from one side to the other. So I'm gonna say this is a 12 or 13. Okay, so it might take a couple of times, that's okay. Like I said, we just want to see like the basic of what your size is gonna be. So if I'm saying that's a 12 or 13, I don't wanna go exactly with a 13. You wanna go up one size. So you wanna go up one size for your flange, okay? Don't mind my horrible handwriting on here. So if I have a 12 or 13 millimeter, I'm probably gonna go up to a 15, okay? Probably gonna go up to 15 because then it's not gonna be super tight. And if you've been pumping or breastfeeding for about like 2 to 3 months, your nipples will get larger. So you will probably need to remeasure after then and readjust and get new inserts or get new flange sizes because they will get larger. So just know that. And you can measure anytime during your pregnancy. I had another mom have this question, which was fantastic. Your breasts are gonna get larger, your areolas are gonna get darker, you'll get more of those bumps on around your areolas, those are the Montgomery tubercles. Those are super important. You'll get more veins in your breast. Those are all really good things. However, your nipples shouldn't really get larger. So you can measure your nipples at any time. The only time that you're gonna get larger is after you've been breastfeeding or pumping for a few months or a few weeks and you notice they're starting to get larger, okay? So the other thing that I want you to do is when you go to the hospital is to also pack like an oil-based lubricant for your nipples. So I'm not a big fan of the lanolin. I like to do lanolin free. More organic, oil-based lubricants. So I recommend the Earth Mama Angel nipple butter. That's my absolute favorite. And it's very oil-based. And then you want to take that and you want to put it right on the inside of the flange and kind of around. So then when you pump, it's like a nice slippery movement for your breast and your nipple. It's more comfortable. So any mom that's going to have to pump for any reason, I recommend you do that in the beginning just so it's nice and smooth. You don't have to do that every time, but in the beginning when you're trying to get that thick colostrum, you definitely want to do that, okay? So there's different ways that you can purchase different flange sizes depending on what pump you have. Basically, if anybody has Amazon, it's the easiest way to get breast pumps parts now. So if you have an LV and you say you have a 14mm nipple, you're gonna say, you wanna go up a size, so you're gonna say 15mm flange for LV, and you're gonna just type that in, okay? All right, and that's what you're gonna type in and see what options come up. Probably it's gonna be Maymom. This is my favorite. It's MAYMOM, and they have all the different pump parts, and it's super easy on their page. So what you can do is you can get the actual flange, so you can get a whole new flange set like this, the whole plastic part, or what they now have, which is amazing, is they actually have inserts. So you can get this little insert that it's silicone, and it goes right in here on a 24mm flange. You put this insert and it makes the hole smaller, so you can use the same size flange but just get an insert. I love that idea. I think it's fantastic. When I had all my kids, they didn't even have these pump parts, so I'm very jealous. But now they have them, so it's a great option. So you want to get that little insert, and then you just stick it right inside, and there you go. And then you don't even have to buy a whole new flange set. And then that's pretty cool too, because then if you have different size nipples, say like one's 15, one's 17, then you can get those inserts and you can use the 24, and you can just use one for each one. So that's pretty cool too, okay? So that's really about fitting your flange and adjusting. And then one other thing I want to go over real quick is nipple shields, because this also has to do with your nipple size. Nipple shields, I'm going to kind of write right here real quick. Unfortunately, there are only 4 sizes. Nipple shields. So we have a 16mm, 18, 20, and 24. So those are the only sizes for nipple shields, unfortunately. So if anybody doesn't know what a nipple shield is, it's this little kind of flexible plastic. It's cut off kind of on the top. This is the Medela brand, which I love, for the baby's nose. And basically what you want to do is you want to always suction it back and put it over your nipple. So it should suck your nipple in, so there should be limited space, except if you have like inverted nipples, it doesn't really do that. But you want to, what it does is it helps create that negative pressure seal on the breast for the baby. And it's a really great tool. I have another video on that if you guys want it, so you can just let me know. I'm not going to talk a lot about nipple shields here, but I did want to let you know that if you, for some reason, if you have a 13mm nipple, the only size nipple shield you can get is a 16. I do recommend the nipple, the Medela nipple shields. They are the absolute best. I don't like ones that look like these big giant nipples or looks like a bottle top and you suction it in. They're not. You want it to close, you want a minimum barrier to the breast, because this decreases nipple stimulation, so you want to pump after each time you use it. So that's another video, but I did want to mention that because if you know your flange size, you'll know what nipple shield you need. Because again, this is something I've come across where I go help a mom at the bedside, and she's got very small nipples, and she's got the largest size nipple shield. And I'm like, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. There's so much space in the shield that it's not suctioning properly and it's not working at all. So then the mom it's not her fault. You know, like what I like to say to you moms and everything is, you don't know what you don't know until somebody tells you the right information. So don't get all that mom guilt. You know, it's okay. You just move forward after that and just use the right size, okay? So I think that's it. So if anybody has any other questions, feel free to reach out to me by email, jen@jenboulay.com. You can also reach out to me on Instagram. So definitely reach out if you have any other questions, or if you want the nipple shield videos. You can find me at the Lactation Expert on YouTube now as well. I have a handle, and I'm doing some longer flow videos kind of like on this as well for flange sizing. So and using nipple shields and proper latching and things like that. So definitely check that out. Oh, also I wrote Airflow breast pumps. If you do not have a breast pump, check out that website. All you do is you put in your insurance information, and they let you know if you can get a free breast pump through them. It's super simple process. If you have Medicaid or WIC, I also tell moms, you do want to make sure you have a breast pump before your baby is here, because I have come across it so many times where a mom's not expecting to have a NICU baby. they don't have a double electric breast pump, and now they're going home and they have nothing because their pump's not going to come in for another week or two. And then there's that huge gap where you're trying to get your milk in, it's not in, and now you don't have a breast pump, because most hospitals let you use their pump, but while you're there. I don't know anybody that really rents them anymore, the hospital grade one, so it's really hard. So if you are on Medicaid WIC, the Mom's Place, for all WIC offices in your local area, you can find a free breast pump. Also, Facebook Marketplace is fantastic. Basically, all you need is the actual pump itself. So if you get like a Spectra, all you want is the pump. You can buy all brand new tubing, the flange, and the little inserts and membranes, and you can buy all that new supply stuff with it for like 25, 30 bucks, and then you have a pump. The pump does nothing, like the tubing and everything, if you get that all brand new, it's the same. So I really encourage moms to, if you're going to the hospital, pack in your hospital bag your correct flange sizes, pack your breast pump. A hands-free pumping bra is fantastic too. I love the one on Amazon, it's 3 wishes. And it velcros in the back so you can adjust it as your milk comes in and your breasts get larger, and it's nice and snug enough that you can literally just sit there and like kind of close your eyes and lay back while you pump. So I do love that bra as well. It's not the prettiest looking thing, but I think it works very well. I used it for all 3 of my kids. I think it's fantastic. All right, so yeah, I think that's really about it. Let me know if anybody has any questions about your flange sizing or anything like that. So email me or message me on Instagram, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day.